10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, are you ready? Party starter, you feel the flow. I'm the party starter. Are you ready to go? I'm the party starter, party starter, party starter, party starter. I'm the party starter. Everybody, let's go. I'm the party starter. Everybody, let's go.
It's such a pleasure to be here again. My name is Annie Koshi, and I'm here on behalf of Indo-Canada Arts Council. And with me, I have a very, very renowned artist. We have Harikishan Nair. He is based here in Toronto. He's from my lovely, beautiful state of Kerala from South India. And it's an honor to have you here, Harikishan. I'm going to call you Hari for this interview, but it's such a pleasure to have you here, Hari.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you so much for having me.
Backstage, I was having an opportunity to talk to you, and I said that I had actually watched you performing 3 times, and I was totally enthralled with, not just your movements, the grace in which you were enacting, and that's taken a long time. You started at a very, very tender age, I believe, of 5 years.
Maybe early, but like Bharatanatyam, yes, 5.
At 5, I think you were born dancing. I'm sure your mom would say that you were dancing in her womb.
Probably, yes. I will not deny that, but but yes, I started my dance at 3 actually.
Right.
So, but when you actually get into dance in Kerala, there is like these folk dances.
Right.
That we actually learned first because the kids who are interested, to just jump around and all those things with this music. So the folk dance was the first dance I was introduced to.
Yeah.
And then I started learning at the age of 5, like Bharatanatyam.
Right.
I started learning Bharatanatyam at the age of 5, and then later on Kuchipudi, Mohiniyattam, and yeah.
Right. So now Bharatanatyam is a dance form basically originating from Tamil Nadu in southern India. And it was originally a temple dance. It was performed by women, and it was used to share or express religious stories and carry on those devotions and pass it on to generation. Now, the dance generally, because I am also from South India, know that you have bent legs and you have hands that are used in a series of mudras, and all of those are used to share the story. You started at 5 learning Bharatanatyam. What was the most challenging thing for you as a young person when you started learning it?
See, I always tell this to everyone. Dance is a very brutal art form, right? It is not very, it's as much as you want to say it's like a tapasya and that and this. I do believe that it's like a practice that makes it what it is. Especially when you talk about Bharatanatyam, it holds a structure. And as you said, it is actually a temple art form coming from a place called Tanjavur. And the structure of Bharatanatyam was structured like now what you see was structured by Tanjore portraits. So the repertoire structure that you see. So it's pretty structured. It's like a very, very structured art form. So that is a performative structure I'm talking about. When it comes to a pedagogical structure, it also has a very definite structure. So many dancers, like former dancers, legends, like they have structured this art form in a very beautiful way, so that it can be taught in a more simplified, like a very simple way.
Right. So you start off, I guess, with a number of because my desire as a young child was to learn how to dance, and coming from we migrated here in the early 70s. And so the opportunity to dance really was far and few between at that time. We didn't have that much exposure to it here. And coming from a Christian background, it wasn't something that the Christian Malayalis really did a lot of. It was more a dance that was done, as you mentioned, in the Hindu temples. And so it wasn't something that I was really exposed to. My exposure to it really happened much later as an adult, when one of my former colleagues happened to also teach Bharatanatyam and started. It was broken down, even as an adult, into bite-sized pieces with the leg movements, and then the hand movements, the head movements, and then combining it.
It has a very definite structure. That's what I was trying to say. It's like it's a very structured art form. So the art form is taught also in such a way that so it's like adding on
layers,
or like adding layers one on top of each other, right? So it's like so when you start learning the repertoire pieces, it's the same way it goes too. It's like adding on layers and layers and layers and layers. Like at the end of so the repertoire starts with an Alaripa and ends with a Tilana. So it also holds a structure. So it is building, and it is quite like it resembles the architectural structure of the temples and that. And that's so it is. And the movements has been there is a major influence from the geography, like around geographical elements around the place. So it's a very structured art form, and it is very simple. Like it's very easy to teach also, because you don't have to, like, as much as I want to say, oh my God, like we have done this. I mean, everybody says, oh, I have choreographed this and I have done this and I have that. But everything is right there. You just mix and match things, and you just
put it together to.
Not even like the people who have created this has a big brain, not us. Actually, I always believe that. I mean, we just mix and match together. So of course, we have to have our own imaginative space. That is a different thing. That as an artist, we do have to hold that. But the structure and the vocabulary gives us so much. So it's quite easy, and was quite easy to learn. And I was so interested in dancing. So I didn't back off. Like even I was lazy in between, and my mom go,
So when, I'm very fascinated, because you are an enigma. You started at a very, very young age, and you rapidly expressed your talent. Dance for you definitely comes from your soul. But you did another form of dance called Mohiniyattam. And Mohiniyattam is a classical dance form that is originating from Kerala. And, it's a dance that's very feminine. And it was really originally done and continues to be done by women. Very few male artists actually perform Mohiniyattam. And actually, there's been quite a lot of difficulty for many of them who are trained in Mohiniyattam to find performance stages. What has been your challenge with that?
I must say I have not performed Mohiniyattam as much as I've performed Bharatanatyam and Kuchipudi. But yes, it was a kind of rule. Kerala was quite famous for its youth festivals, right?
Yes.
It was a rule which was brought in the youth festival where Mohiniyattam holds it's a very feminine art form, and the females should predominantly do it. So, but the way I see it, is like, again, I will actually say structure, the word structure multiple times in this interview, because I love to actually hold on to a structure.
Yeah.
So Mohiniyattam actually holds a very specific structure. Okay. And that structure is quite amazing. It is quite different from Bharatanatyam or Kuchipudi. And that is the fascinating aspect of me, like, as a dancer who's coming from Kerala, holding on to that structure was very, very special. It has helped me to ground myself as a dancer, I must say. I mean, in fact, Kathakali also in that way. But performance wise, I have not performed so much. I have created works. I have not performed so much. I've only done, because I don't want to hold Mohiniyattam solo or like all those kind of.
Which is very rare, because I think there are very few artists. When I was looking into the background of it, that have actually done that. But there are also, just as there are the feminine characters that are shared or shown through the dance form in Mohiniyattam, there's also the masculine aspect of it as well. And I think the aspect that male dancers can perform the male form of it and still retain the femininity of the form is...
Yeah, it's a very, I just want to, I know for the fact that we say it is a feminine art form. So it is basically the structure which gives that idea of femininity. So femininity is not like about like moving slow or wavy or curvy, or like those things are not, that's like a wrong notion associated with femininity. Femininity is boldness. Like one of my works actually, it's a femininity is strength, right? I believe women have more strength than men in many multiple different ways. So in many philosophies, Hindu philosophies also, it says that, like especially one of my works, like which I'm creating, is based on the philosophy of Shaktism, where it holds a specific idea of strength, like how this feminine energy is held. It's more superior than any energy around, right?
Absolutely.
So that particularly, if you look at that idea of this one, so it's quite like you're kind of it's quite submissive when you say that, okay, it's like a feminine art form. It has to hold this kind of thing. No,
yeah. Femininity is often equated with being submissive, or femininity is often equated with being the softer one. But I think the feminine force is a very strong force. And
absolutely. And that actually, the structure holds that thing, because to be in Preritam, which is the sthayi position of Mohiniyattam, and to hold a spine in a verticality and moving it in a wavy form, or like in waves, like, the spinal movement is like quite anchored. So it holds the grace just because of that movement, right? Movement of the spine, or like 2 or 4 movement, or like figure of 8, or like frontal circle, or like back circle, or all those things is a spinal movement which is happening in Mohiniyattam. And that is because, I think the people who have created it, like they looked around and saw, oh, okay, the palm trees are moving. Let's take this movement and incorporate it in our body. And this is how the movement has occurred, right? So but to hold that wave, or like whatever lasya, whatever you want to say, that to move the spine in that particular way needs much, much more strength than any other thing. It needs a solid groundedness, or like of the body. So I feel Mohiniyattam is the more stronger art form than many art. I mean, I would not deny the fact that there is Kathakali, which is
I was going to get to asking you about, like, Kathakali comes from Kerala as well, and it is, the makeup itself takes 3 to 4 hours to put on, and even the female characters were typically they were all done by men. And the process of learning how to just get dressed into the costumes is an entire day of, I could talk to you all about that. But, all of these, we're very lucky, Hari. Both of us come from this beautiful state of Kerala. Your guru that you started learning from, Girjaji, is also, or Girja Chechi as she's known it. And for those of you who don't understand what Chechi means, it actually means sister in Malayalam. And since we are talking about the Indo-Canada Arts Council's program about dance, I could not resist but share a little bit of my Malayalam background. Now, Guru Girja Chandran taught you both Bharatanatyam as well as Mohiniyattam. And what was one of the biggest learnings you took away from Girja Chechi?
To be disciplined, to be responsible for yourself, so except for me, everything I learned is from my teacher. I say this even in the same position when I'm teaching, even I say this every single day. There is not even a single day which passes by without even thinking of my teacher. But anyways, she has given me everything. She has taught me how to be disciplined as a dancer. She has taught me how to be responsible for your own body as a dancer. She has taught me how to be present. She has taught me how to actually engage with the audience, how to engage with the space, how to engage with the time. So she is like a bundle of knowledge where it's not that she actually sit and talk about these things, but through experience, through her conversations, through during the rehearsals, during the practice, during the other sessions. So it is such a blessing that I still have my teacher as my guru, who has shown me everything. Even the way I teach right now, I teach like my teacher, because that is the only reference I have.
Right. It's been ingrained into you, right? From a very, very young age. And so it only means that whatever she has passed on, not only was she trained as a teacher, she was born as a teacher. She really taught from her soul. As a teacher myself, not in dance, but in another subject area, I worked with a lot of colleagues of mine who were trained as well as teaching. But there's a big difference between someone who's trained as a teacher and who has teaching in their blood. And the passion that comes from teaching goes beyond just a subject area. So I'm sure your teacher taught you not just the dance form, but taught you about life.
So much.
And on that note, Hari, we're going to actually listen to one of your performances. We're going to watch one of your performances. It's going to be OORJA. And we're going to have that play right now for all of you who are watching. If you've missed out, we have in studio with us Harikishan Nair, and he is in an exclusive interview here at Indo-Canada Arts Council for Diwali RazzMatazz 2021. And so stay tuned. We're in Gupshup for Indo-Canada Arts Council. We're going to take a break, and take a look at this video. It's going to be great. Wasn't that amazing? Well, what you saw there was OORJA, and OORJA is a 30-minute performance, and it's really about the voyage through the energy that we have within us. And it's funny that I say that because I always talk about this energy, this vibe, and how some people walk into a room and you can feel the energy shift, right? Or you are in the presence of someone and their energy repels you and you just walk away. And so we are these energetic beings. And so when you put that into this dance form of OORJA, what was it like to create that piece?
The idea was, yes, as you said, OORJA literally means energy. So it's a Sanskrit word. And my idea was like, I love art forms which holds a very similar background, as well as I love the way how it is, there are so much of commonalities and differences in the art forms, right? So I love to play with that. And it gives us so much room to explore the art form as such. So the one aspect is this, like, every art form holds energy in a very different way.
Yes.
And so every art form holds energy in its own way, with its time and like in its space. So I wanted to explore that. And so
yeah, you did in this because you used 4 different forms of dance in this. You used Bharatanatyam, you used Kuchipudi, you did Kathakali, and you used Mohiniyattam.
Yes.
Very distinct, all 4 of them with unique characteristics, unique costumes, unique hand and face and gestures within it. What was the unifying factor through all of that?
That was my curiosity, right? Like, so how do we actually bring in? It's just like, I didn't want this whole idea of fusion to happen. I wanted to idea of like, how do you actually, what would I see if I bring in these art forms together? And if I hold the idea of energy, and what would actually be like, how would it be? How can I translate this? And so it was quite fascinating. And the artists who I have worked, they're very experienced artists. And when I was choreographing this whole piece, my musician was like I had an idea of my music too. So I wanted the piece to actually have a structure where there is like this, there's a duality, there's actually a solo body, and there's a group, and then goes up. And the music also comes like it has an ups and downs too. So you know how the energy has this wavy format, right? Like even like in our daily life.
The wave pattern in energy is like,
So I was playing with that idea of wave in this whole. So it will have this hype and it just goes down and it goes up and it goes up and it goes to this whole this bombarding effect of energy. So, and every art form has this element where there is a subtle energy and there is this whole giving away energy. And so I just found that as a commonality in this particular piece, and I was trying to project that throughout the piece, and just playing with it. And luckily, there was like massive contribution from my collaborators, which I cannot deny, because this was a co-production which was done by NKK, Preeta Kandajata, because it was a part of a big production called Samyogita. So this was the centerpiece of that whole production. So yeah, but it was co-produced by NKK too. So I must give credits to them as well. But the choreographic side, this was my imagination. How do I actually bring in the commonalities of commonalities in terms of the energy in each form, and how can I translate that?
Wonderful. So one of the other dances that we're all going to be viewing is YATRA. And I want to just explain and talk about YATRA before we take another break and actually show our viewers the song itself, the dance itself. But YATRA was a 75-minute riveting dance. It's a duet dance that was done, and it was based on a quote by a very, very fond poet that many of us have, but mine particularly, and this was by Rumi. And the poet says, "The lamps are different, but the light is the same. One matter, one energy, one light mind, endlessly emanating all things." What a fantastic quote. How did that fuel the choreography for you for YATRA?
This particular quote was stuck in my head for a long time. And for some reason, I was imagining this piece with a Kathak form.
Right.
So, and I have learned Kathak a bit, like from bits and bytes. It's not like we'll never say that anywhere, because I will never say that.
That was on the record, people, just so you know.
No, I don't want to even say that. I have attended class. Let's just put it that way. Some classes. But anyways, so I have always imagined that, how do we, again, this idea of commonalities and differences of art forms, just always stuck in my head. It's still, because the Indian art forms have so much to give. There's so much in Indian art forms.
In our heritage, right? And we're just talking about right now a couple of dance forms from Kerala. We haven't even started to explore other dance forms like
this particular was with Kathak, right?
You're looking at Odissi and Manipuri, and there's so many other dance forms that we haven't even touched upon, right?
Yeah. So it's basically, this one, my curiosity was with Kathak, and Kathak plays with a very, it holds spine in a very different way. The verticality of the Kathak is the most beautiful thing of Kathak, and how it is held in space. And for me, the idea of fluidity in my body as a Kuchipudi dancer was quite fascinating. So how does these two things merge, and how the body reacts to each other when this fluidity and the verticality is maintained?
It's almost like the two opposite things. One is a spinal is loose, in which you're moving with flow, and the other one, you're standing straight, and it's your feet and your arms that are pretty much doing the movements. The spine remains pretty stationary.
There was this contrast every single time, whether you take the musical element of it, like Hindustani and Carnatic, and coming from a Kathak like Kathak is from the north and Kuchipudi is from the south. So the contrast of the culture and the structure of this And the idea of even the dance is quite different in Kathak and this one. So that was something, and still we could hold these art forms and find the unison in this aspect. And this actually, the particular name Yatra was kind of, for me, always when you think of Yatra, for me, it was about the light. And the light that actually guides you this path, right?
Yeah.
We're all looking at one light and we are going towards that. We're not going towards the dark number. There is always light. So this unison is actually navigating us to this light in a very, very beautiful way, I must say.
Now, for again, I have to go back to the word yatra. Yatra in my Malayalam means journey. And so it is a journey, that path that you're going, the path that you're going through, which wanders through, and that's sort of that flow that you're expecting, but also it's a path that's leading forward in one way. That is yatra. And so for all of you right now, we're going to take a short break, but before we come back with another part of Hari's story and his life and what he's up to next, watch a segment from his dance Yatra, just for you.
I'm a dancer, a teacher, and forever a student. Born in India and now living in Canada, the traditions of both lands live deep within me. Having traveled across the world to a new country, the one constant is my art. To situate my learning of classical Indian dances in a country that embraces diversity has truly been an honor. An honor to carry forward rich traditions of Indian classical art in a contemporary world.
അതിലോലം മൈക്കണ്ണിൽ പ്രപഞ്ചവും അതിനുള്ളിൽ ശബ്ദജാലം ലാലസം മൃദുപാദം തൊടും കാലമാം രസാനുഭൂതിയും ഹൃദിവേഗം പ്രകൃതിയെ പുണരും കരപുടം അംഗവല്ലിയിൽ പൂക്കും വാണീരവം നാദതാളലയങ്ങളും നവരസത്തെ നഞ്ചും
The world we now inhabit reminds us that art is essential, that art can heal. I am fortunate to be able to hone my craft in the country I now live in, a land protected by its original caretakers. The people of the First Nations teach me how I can remain deeply connected to my roots. That no matter how far I am from my own motherland, I am at home. And for this, I am deeply indebted.
So, we just saw an amazing piece, and this was called Vande. Now, Vande was something you did for a film. It was a commission piece that you had done for a film. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was that we saw?
Vande is my offer, I must say. As you say, Vande means like offering or like,
Yeah.
or like, So it was an offer that I like. We are so privileged that we are living in a country which was original, like the original caretakers of this land is the indigenous people. So this was actually honoring them and or acknowledging them, or like for giving the space, time and resources for us to be here and what we could do. And I wanted to relate this whole idea of colonization that we have been as Indians, holding, or like, we still hold that. And the indigenous people, of course, they're still like, it's a kind of, it is colonization what they're also feeling at this point of time too, right? So this is
a respect. It's a respect for the space. It's a respect for using the land and the resources, and it's an acknowledgement of the fact that we didn't come here and create this here. It was in existence, and even they have such a huge respect for the land and the natural resources that we have.
Yeah.
So Vande was appropriately named in terms of the hands folded sign of respect that we have.
Absolutely. So, and I wanted to relate it with my own mother tongue. That is why we have that poetry. At the background, and it was actually originally done by Manu Mash, and I'm always a great fan of Manu Mash, and it just inspired me to do this piece and just overlay it with the idea of
Right.
acknowledging the land that we live in. So yeah, so that
Now, Hari Krishna Nair tours, and he tours with new choreographic pieces. He conducts workshops and master classes all over North America. He has gone to present his work in numerous dance festivals, and he has dance productions in Canada, the UK, in the US, in India, you name it. Now, I know that you have something special lined up for us at the Indo-Canada Arts Council with all of our Diwali celebrations this year. I'm wondering if you can give us a sneak peek into what's coming up and what you have prepared for us.
yes, Akhanda is my work's name of my work. So Akhanda is a Sanskrit word again, and it means like unbroken, or like indivisible, or like uninterrupted, or something which always continues.
Right.
I was holding the idea of continuity or continuum, and I have collaborated with two other art forms in this as dancers. Tanveer Alam, who has worked with me for YATRA, he's a Kathak dancer, and Dr. Sanjukta Banerjee, who is a very renowned Mohiniyattam dancer from
Okay.
Kolkata. So, and I have collaborated with her multiple different times. And so I was holding, I was holding this idea of continuity and how can we still continue? So this idea throughout without any interruption, right? Like, so, it's like, so when they have asked me for this particular piece, I was thinking of, because now everything is digital, and I specifically said, I don't want to flatten the idea of dance. I want to still hold some sort of a 3D idea
Right.
that you actually see and you feel, right?
I'm going to stop you at that for a minute because I want to touch upon something that was so important. We've all been going through a very, very difficult couple of years, several difficult months where we have all felt isolated, not just here in Canada, not here in the US, but across the world. And one of the things that's unified, kept us sane, kept us happy, and helped us find our equilibrium were the art forms, whether it was music, whether it was watching dance, whether it was in film. As an artist myself, and as I sit in front of this renowned artist, in front of all of you as an audience, Hari, one of the things that we often speak about is the value of an artist. And we really found that highlighted during these last couple of months, you would say the last year and a half. The value has totally been appreciated. And the fact that the art form was the way that people actually went to. But there is always a question about how do you find your worth? Have you had these challenging points?
Oh, of course, I have had it all my time. So, see, I started working in a very community level, and then now I'm actually working with a mainstream artist. So dance ecology is quite different in a mainstream, in a very professional way. So right now I hold a position where I actually stand as a person who actually represents like my South Asian people, and hold this equity statement and say that the dance or the art or a dancer needs to have the value. And we have a board, like we do have a board called CADA, where it's called Canadian Alliance of Dance. And so this particular board says what an artist needs to be paid for this and that and this. Like it is very well described in that, in the CADA board. So it is quite descriptive. And now I encourage all my dancers to actually hold this, even whether it is a community performance or whether it is a professional
Right.
performance or whatever whatsoever, you need to hold on to it, because like you can't, you will not negotiate to a cardiology or
Exactly.
cardiothoracic surgeon, like, oh, can you actually do this for this much?
Right.
That's a part of the risk of the life of
Exactly.
like, right? So it is not a different thing. It is not. We are also holding the same idea of knowledge and everything, but in a very different stream. So you can't negotiate with artists. And this is a very good question, Annie, and thank you so much for bringing that up, because I'm through this, at least I know pretty much so many people will be watching this. Artists are human beings who work so much on screen, off screen, on stage, behind the stage. So, and they have a life and they need to. And for this is for the artist who is actually a performer. So you need to start actually valuing yourself. You
Exactly.
stop fantasizing your art form, saying that it has this, it has that, it has color of costumes and that. No, it is not that. Art form holds a structure, and art form is valuable, and our art forms are like, that is why it is not coming to the mainstream, right? Because the artist itself is fantasizing the art form.
Yeah. Now, I have a quote, and I was just looking for that quote. And the quote that I have says that what you see me do in 10 minutes, here it is. If I do a job in 30 minutes, it's because I spent 10 years learning how to do that in 30 minutes. You owe me for the years, not the minutes. This is something that I say. And
it's time. It's a time, right? It is how you are holding the time and the experience over the time, how you hold, and you are actually giving it for like 5 minutes. And at the end of the day, they will say, oh, this is just a 5-minute performance. Right. But the artist should not negotiate that. You have to value it.
It's non-negotiable, because that 5 minutes may seem just the length of a song is only 5 minutes, but you actually think of the years of experience that's gone into that length of that song, right?
That imagination, right? That imaginative skill that we have created over the time, over experience, is something very, very, very valuable.
So, Harikishan, your immense grace, your immaculate ways of actually expressing to the audience through your gestures, through your facial movements. You have very subtle and yet very expressive ways of being able to convey that emotion. That is something that holds, and I have watched you dance 3 times in my life, and it was an honor each time. But there are dance connoisseurs around the world who have watched you perform, and they hold you in such high esteem. It's an absolute pleasure to have had you speaking with us in detail about some of the dances that we've seen, some of the clips from your dances, about what's coming up with one of the pieces that you're going to be doing with us. And we really look forward to having a long-lasting relationship with you and Indo Arts Council of Canada. So Indo-Canada Arts Council. So
thank you so much, Annie. Thank you. It was such a pleasure. And I mean, you are such a beautiful host, and it's quite easy to actually have a conversation, especially to talk with a Malayali, and was a very, very fascinating thing for me. And thank you, Indo Canadian Council, for actually choosing me and presenting my work. And I'm so grateful. And
it's a pleasure. And, you know, for those of you who've missed out, you should watch this interview right from the beginning, because not only do we talk about some of the pieces that Harikishan has actually done, we also talk about the basics of where he began his entire dance journey and some of the fundamentals that started off that journey and some of the things that united all of those different dance forms to bring him to where he is today. So if you've missed any part of this interview, then you go back, listen to Gupshup for Indo-Canada Arts Council. Stay tuned. We've got lots coming up for you. Don't miss out 30 days of interesting talks just for you.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, are you ready? party starter. Are you ready to go? I'm the party starter, party starter, party starter, party starter. I'm the party starter. Everybody, let's go. I'm the party starter. Everybody, let's go. Here we go.